In this video, we're going to run through what the reporting output from the CySys PenTera platform looks like. Now, there's a few different types of reports, and we'll go through them in some detail here. The first one that we're looking at now is the full action report. So at the end of the CySys run, the PenTera machine will report back on everything that it attempted to do, along with the status on whether that action that it attempted was successful or not. So you can see the status bar along the right-hand side here. We can see that some actions have no results against them, others have successes against them. The purpose of this really is to show you not just where those issues are within the network, where those tools or protocols or misconfigurations are perhaps leaving you exposed to risk, but also show you where the machine had no results in the attempts that it took to try and escalate privilege or carry out the same sort of methodologies that an attacker would look to use on your environment. And the purpose for this is really to show you both the good and the bad so that you can understand where the bad is and where the weaknesses are and where you need to make improvements, but also understand what's working well. If, for example, the PenTera machine attempted to crack your user passwords and failed with every single one, you can understand then that your password policy is good and it's enforced correctly, your users are adhering to it, therefore you don't need to worry about it too much for now. If, in contrast to that, the PenTera machine attempted to inject some payloads to some files on your network and succeeded every time, we can pinpoint there that there's either an issue, most likely with the antivirus, perhaps in the way that it's configured, or maybe with the tool itself. Either way, we'll pinpoint what's good and what's bad so you can understand where the bad is, look to remediate and mitigate those risks from your environment and become more secure over time. Everything here is timestamped, so these reports can be pulled straight into a scene platform if you're using one via an open API. We also map every technique that we carried out here to the MITRE framework so that you can dive deep and understand exactly what we did during each phase here, but also whether that particular action that was undertaken was a success or not. Moving on from this report, we look at some of the other examples that we have, and we have both kind of high-level overviews and also more detailed run-throughs of exactly what happened and what you now need to undertake as an action. So if we look here, we've got the resilience scorecard. This is where the PenTera machine will attribute a performance rating to every kind of element that you see here. In this instance, we can see that this particular organization have issues with the amount of high privileged users on their network, the ability for an attacker to sniff credentials, to move laterally, and to exploit critical static vulnerabilities. Further down the line, they need to look at their resilience to payload and exploitation, file exploitation and accessible data. Password strength, although it was a bit of an issue, isn't too much of a concern for now. So again, this is about addressing for you where those real key areas of concern are, showing you what they are so that you can go and put fixes into place to ensure that that risk is mitigated somewhat. We also here, we go super high level and say, these are the top 3 vulnerabilities, the top 3 actions where if you undertake these fixes that we map for you here, these vulnerabilities are the ones causing you the biggest risk. If you go and remediate them, if you go and fix them, you'll have the biggest impact on your network. So you can pinpoint what are the top 3 things that if I only have time and resource to fix these this week, I'll go and fix them, I'll go and do that, and I'll know that I've taken the biggest action in the least amount of time. We also run through all of the vulnerabilities that were found. Again, which hosts were affected, where do they sit in the network, what domains are they on, what type of attacker achievements were carried out, again with a breakdown of each of those, what types of devices were discovered and of which, how many had vulnerabilities within them. And in addition to this, we'll give you a breakdown of how your passwords performed, how many were cracked, how many weren't, what was the average crack time, what types of users were cracked, were they local or domain users, all of this info and context. And then again, we have another high-level report, which is the executive summary report, which is all of this information, but without necessarily the context that an executive or board level or management level would need. So this is going to show you how you've performed over time and how you're tracking and developing. Hopefully, obviously, when you run this the first couple of times, over the course of the period of which you have the license, you're going to be running this more often. You're going to be putting remediations in place against the vulnerabilities that are found and uncovered. So over time, hopefully that trajectory is going to lead you on an upwards track like this one. If at any point your performance dips or any issues are uncovered in your network by the CySys machine, it will flag this to you. And if that performance dips, we can pinpoint why it did so, how you can go and put fixes and remediations into place. So over time, by increasing the ability for you to run tests on a frequent basis. We're going to improve your efficiency. You're going to know where you need to go and remediate next, what you need to do and where you need to go and improve. Over time, that's going to enable you to increase productivity, hopefully lower costs as well, and essentially reduce your risk. Understand at all times where the issues are in your environment, what you need to do to go and mitigate them, and understand as and when new issues pop up, how you can go and resolve them.